Good morning, everyone. My name is Josh. I'm here with three amazing people, Layla, Lexy, and Austin. Austin, this is your first time on the post show, right?
Yes, this is my first time on the post show.
Can you give us just a little bit of a breakdown of the things that you do here at Connections? Because you, like your sister Elizabeth, you do a lot here.
Yeah, I do quite a bit. So obviously the main thing that I do is I'm up there Sunday mornings. I get to play the guitar. I get to do a couple of other stuff on stage. Absolutely love that. I've been doing that for 10 years now, doing some worship, and also get to help volunteer with the youth ministry. So I get to hang out with a lot of students, and I get to help lead the young adults group on Tuesday nights. So it's pretty amazing, all the different volunteer opportunities that Connections has, and that I get the privilege to be a part of.
Yeah. Well, we're really glad that you're joining us this morning. Everybody watching, you might have noticed that our set looks just a little bit different. The camera's in a little bit different of a spot, which I kind of like because I can look straight. So, I kind of like it. But we're in a little bit different of a set. You might have noticed that we did not have a Q&A this past Wednesday. The reason why we didn't have a Q&A this past Wednesday is because Steve, our creative arts pastor, was putting this entire set together. So this Wednesday at 7 p.m., we will be starting back up with our normal Q&A. We just didn't have one last week because this entire set was getting put together. We're super excited to see how we continue to use this set for all of our online stuff and all of the amazing things that we have planned for our online presence in 2024. But let's go ahead. Let's hop into today's message. It was our second week of our What is Love series. Pastor Perry brought today's message, and I'm just going to ask, what stood out to you in today's message?
I feel like I always go first. Would somebody else like to do the honors?
No, go.
Nope.
Okay.
Layla,
This is my thing. So I love today's message, but I really liked the verse that love, yeah. And I guess before I say what my real answer was going to be, I love the song.
Yep. Did you hear the clip that of Dave and Elizabeth and Andy that got posted, and they sang the song
For the post show last week?
and Dave sang the song wrong.
I feel like
he said anymore instead of no more
at
the very end. So it wasn't bad, but it was funny because in our staff meeting, he was like, "Oh yeah, I sang the song," and we told him he sang it wrong. He had no idea.
A for effort. Maybe we should consider taking the real song off and putting Dave's version over it.
I think we should.
That's
a good idea.
We should.
We should.
But I really liked the verse that Pastor Perry mentioned today, Matthew 5:14 through 16, which I didn't write down word for word. But, basically, just my summarization of being the light, to the world.
Yeah.
And it's something that I try to embrace. I don't always do very well with it, but it's something, especially throughout this past week, of things that I've been going through that I've been trying to really lean into, and it was just kind of like a moment. Again, I always have moments where my spidey senses go off. You get a little tingly, and you're like, "Ooh, that one hits home." So that was mine. That verse was exactly what I needed to hear today, because it was something that I've really been trying to embrace and lean into. So.
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, it's been happening almost every time. And I again, I don't want to go into detail everything going on this past week, but I have been thinking so much about the things we have talked about in the post show over the last few weeks and since we've started this fun journey. And this experience has just helped me be a better person. And I'm just really grateful for it.
Yeah, well, we're grateful that you join us every Sunday.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
I love that, Layla.
Our tissue box is gone.
Yep, I'm not crying. Please, someone.
I got you. All right. So the bless with all the 5 different actions of how we're supposed to love people well. I remember when we did this series a year or two ago, and I totally forgot about it. And just going through them again, it made me realize, okay, yeah, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that. But oftentimes I don't put them all together. And I think if I started doing that, there might be some cool changes going on in my life. So just the reminder of put them all together and use them all.
Yeah.
And it'll bless your relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that acronym is really important because it starts off with a sense of prayer. It starts off with a sense of being sure that you're connecting to God. And then it's also really important to build on those relationships, build on them, getting to know people, actually sitting back and being able to listen to human beings, hear where they're at, hear what's going on in their lives, and then different experiences, different ways that we can connect with them through eating with them, sharing a meal with them, serving them. That, I think that is a really unique opportunity that we're called on to do. All of these different aspects allow us to, first off, when we talk about prayer, open ourselves up to God, and then provide a way for us to be able to connect to other people. I think that is incredibly important.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. For me, one of the things that stood out to me, and there's been this pastor that I've been listening to, his name is Jonathan Podluka. I doubt that's how you actually say it. I just call him Pastor JP.
There you go.
But I've been listening to a lot of his stuff. He's been doing a really good series about how to abide in God and talking about this. But one of his messages that he was talking about was the final point within that BLESS acronym that Perry was talking about, sharing our story, sharing the gospel with people. And I can find myself so easily getting caught up in this place of, I can get on a stage in front of 50 students, I can get on stage in front of thousands of people, and I can share the gospel with ease. But then I get to this place of like one-on-one conversations, and it becomes so much more difficult for me. And I like put up this level of like, okay, I have to connect on this more personal level with this person. I've just felt over the past like few weeks, one of the things I learned from Pastor JP are like these two questions that he just asks people all the time. And that's one of like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how certain are you that you're going to get into heaven? And then the second question he asked after that is, if you were in front of God right now, what would you tell him as why you should be in heaven? And that last point that Perry talked about, it just like my mind flooded with those two questions, and how like I know God has told me like, okay, I want you to go have that conversation, go ask those questions, those two people, literally within the past like 2 weeks. And I've gotten like nervous where I'm like, I don't know, like I don't know this person, or I kind of know this person. And it was just very convicting of the way of like you pray for this person and you have these interactions, and now like God is prompting me to go and serve and to go love, and I hesitate. So when Pastor Perry was talking about that up there, I was like, why do I do that? Like I can get on a stage, I can do it just fine, but whenever it's one-on-one, there's this hesitation in me. So there was this conviction that I have been working on ever since, and turning over to God this morning of, all right, help me to get past that. So that is what stood out to me. I had some hardcore conviction listening to this message this morning.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
I wouldn't be able to do really either one very well. So
yeah, it's not sure what it is.
I mean,
but
I honestly understand that, because those are two very different types of
For sure.
speaking.
Yeah.
Like the intimate one-on-one. There's only one other person that I can bounce off. Where it's like if you're speaking in front of people, they have to listen to you.
Yeah.
Like they don't have a choice, you know.
Yeah, and
So I get what.
And it wasn't something that I was really aware of until this morning when I was listening to it. I'm like, they're definitely like in my mind, whatever it is. Like, I would rather get on a stage and talk in front of thousands of people sometimes than have a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah.
That's not good. Like the way I view it, I view those one-on-one conversations being so important. So
they totally are.
So that's definitely something that I'm going to start working on and being more intentional about. So Pastor Perry, thank you very much for being obedient to what God wanted you to share this morning, because it impacted me big time. So is there anything else that stood out to you in today's message that you want to share before we move on to our questions?
I will say a small plug about Big Serve. I think it's really neat about what we're going to be. I didn't know that we were going to change things up this year. And
Surprise!
I'm like, ooh, this is intriguing. I have all sorts of thoughts and questions, and I'm already brainstorming on some things, but I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, because one of the things that Pastor Perry was talking about is like this really is going to help people have so many different opportunities.
Yeah.
Monday through Saturday, morning, evening of those days, when everyone is like, you know what, I can do Thursday evening. Bam, we'll have something for Thursday evening. Our goal is to fill all those time slots so that you will be able to fit something into your schedule, because we as a church want to do this as a whole. Yeah. So, surprise, we shared it today. So, yeah, we're really excited to see what that looks like. I'm really excited to be a part of it, because I was out of town last time for Big Serve, and then Big Serve happened in 2022, the week before I moved here. So I haven't even gotten to participate in
Oh my
Big
gosh.
Serve. So I'm so excited
It's
to
it's
serve
pretty
the
darn
community
fun.
this year. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
and it's important to make that impact into the community
Yeah.
and actually make a
Absolutely.
difference, a tangible difference in the lives of people. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
really amazing to see what serving people is able to do.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
it's being that light, like
Yeah,
you shared
absolutely.
earlier.
And
being the
it's
light.
it's like, but with actions,
Yeah.
right? I think it's really easy, with words, and words are important and they do mean something, but actions just, I think, hit at a completely different level. And the experiences I know that I've gotten out of Big Serve, just unforgettable.
Yeah.
And every year, it never disappoints. I always am so impacted and moved by what we're able to do over the last few years, usually going around the different sites and talking to people or whatnot, but even being able to like interview and chat with the people that are actually serving, I still benefit a ton of just feeling that gratitude from the people that are receiving the services, right, that we're providing. So it's just, I love Big Serve. So the fact that it's going from a weekend to a week, I'm there for it. I think that's awesome.
Awesome. I'm excited for it too. I just got a text, Austin. You need to pull your mic a little bit closer.
You got it.
So we all had to
trouble,
learn.
Austin.
We all had to learn the hard
Yeah.
way. So yep, we got it. The mic's closer to his mouth now. Alrighty. So our first question that we're going to dive into, and you'll kind of notice that a lot of these questions reflect around what stood out to me in today's message. So, but reflecting on 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 and verses 3 and 4, I'll read those verses here in just a second. How can we actively pray for and bless all people, even those you may find challenging to love? And those verses say, first of all, then, I urge that supplication, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people. This is good, and it is pleasing in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all people to be saved and come to the knowledge of truth. So based off of those verses, how can we actively pray for and bless all people, even those who you may find challenging to love?
I think, going back to what Austin highlighted earlier, with the be and bless about beginning with prayer, I think that that's what I do need, is to ask God to like open my heart and my mind and my not maybe always so great thoughts of other people, and to take those biases and put them aside and to approach things as God would, right? Which is very much for everybody, no matter if they're challenging or not. So I think that's the first thing that comes to mind for me, which I don't think done this before. Like really intentionally, like praying for God to help me lean into something like this, with like praying for non-biases, right?
Yeah.
And again, I've had a rough week this week, and this is something I've been trying to do, and I didn't do so well. There was a particular person that I was really frustrated with, and I wasn't being very nice to her because of various situations that happened through the week, and I got there. And it got better, but I know that I can do better, but I can only do better with God on my side.
Yeah.
Because there really is nothing else. Like at first I'm like, oh, I'll just write it down, or I'll try to be intentional with it. I can't do this alone, right? I can't do anything really well without God feeding me and, my thoughts and my intentions. So,
And you can do all of those little things because they will benefit you, but you're right. You those won't even do anything if you don't
Yeah.
if you don't lean on God,
yep.
pray about it.
I mean,
For sure.
And Scripture says that we can't do anything apart from God. To the place that God wants us to do it, to honor people and to bless people and serve people. Absolutely.
I think about that, and it'll break my heart just thinking about people going through so many difficult things in life without God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
life is hard with God. So
I-
people that don't have him,
Yeah.
it just breaks my heart to think about.
There are times I think about, I'm like, man, if I didn't have God in my life, I actually don't know what I'd do. Like, I know we say that about, like, people in our lives or animals in our lives. Like, man, if you weren't here, I don't know what I'd do. But, like, I go, man, if I didn't have God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be so lost. So,
And to think
yeah.
that, like, at times we at least I do this. I'm sure other people can relate, but I'll just, like, brush God aside. And I'll forget how powerful and how cool he is, and all of the things that he's
Yeah.
done in my life and the blessings that he's given me, and the impossible things that I don't think are able to be done that he'll do for me.
Yeah.
And I like will question and challenge and be like, oh, whatever, I won't pray and I won't lean on him.
Yeah.
And then when I do, he always blows my mind and is like, why didn't you do, just like convicts me of like, why didn't you do this earlier?
Yep.
You knew that I had the power
Yeah.
to help you with this,
Yeah.
and you just didn't lean on me.
Yeah, and especially in these difficult situations when we're dealing with people who it might be very hard to put into practice all of the things that Jesus taught,
Yeah.
all of the serving things, all of the being able to listen to people, having that mindset setter of prayer, having that connection with God, having a reminder of who he is, and what exactly he's done for us, I think is really important. Something we often forget to do at times is to go into situations without consulting with God first, without leaning on who he is and what he has done for us. And I think if we go on just based on our own natural abilities, it's going to become very easy for us to perhaps hurt people, to not be the people who Jesus called us to be, because we're not having that connection with God. We might not remember who exactly God is and what he has done for us, and having that, even just those moments of prayer before we interact with people, I think is really important and really crucial to just as a reminder and a mindset setter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
A big prayer that is just constantly in my week is for God to get me comfortable in the uncomfortable. And I think that works well for this, because all of us have people in our lives that are more difficult to be around,
Yeah.
to deal with, to love than others.
Yep.
And the people that are hard for me to love and be around are going to be different from your guys's,
Yeah.
people that are
Right.
difficult. But yeah, I just constantly pray that God gets me comfortable being around people that challenge me, and that I can show love, and that, yeah.
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 I think too, it's important to ask God to provide a level of like resiliency, because a lot of times, not a lot of times, but often, people will reject your love and the things that you do or, try to do for them.
Yeah.
And that hurts. So, and again, going back to what you said earlier, I don't know how people get through things like that without God,
Yeah.
right? So, it'd
Yeah.
be another thing.
Yeah, no. Well, we're going to take a quick pause. Austin, thank you so much
Yes.
for joining us. I know that you got to go play the guitar and you got to go
Hey.
all the other
You make the
Ableton.
guitar
And I don't even
simple.
know everything.
All
that
the
you do.
other fun stuff that we have to do. Yes, second or third service, I should say, is about to start.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me.
absolutely. Thanks for coming, bud.
Thanks, Austin.
So, now back to this question. One of the things that I have been doing as of late is praying for God to refine my heart to see people as he sees people.
I love that.
Because I
love
there are two people in my life that I really, and it's funny because I'm talking tonight at youth group about honoring our parents, which is a very hard thing for students to do in today's society, because they might not have great or present parents. So it's like, how can we still honor our parents that aren't in our lives? And I was thinking about it more. There's two people that I really struggle to honor in my life, and that's one, my dad, who's been out of the picture for a long, long time. But then also one of the guys that I used to work for at my old church. Like, that relationship ended very poorly, and I can struggle with honoring those people even outside of that. And I've noticed, like, man, I don't pray for my dad. I don't pray for this other guy ever. Like, even whenever I know I should, I don't, because I struggle to see them as God sees them. It's easier for me to, I've never met you before, I can pray for you, I can do all of that.
Sure.
Or, I have this relationship with you, we're close, I can pray for you. But for those two people, it's very difficult for me. So I've been praying, like, okay, God, like, I need you to refine my heart so I can see these people as you see these people. And ever since I've started doing that a little over a week ago, it's become easier to pray for them, but it's still not to the place I would want it to be. But it definitely is. I'm trying.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what we're all trying to do. I'm trying to honor them by praying for them. So that is how I apply those.
And
to
I
my
think
life. So
that you should recognize how powerful that first step is.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a big deal, and I'm
Yeah.
very proud of you, and
you.
I think it's going to go a really long way. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you
That's
sharing
tough,
that.
but
Yeah. Yep. I get you in levels you probably don't even realize
Yeah.
at this exact moment.
So-
And I just think what comes to mind for me is I wish I would have done that. And to be on the other end of things when you don't have that opportunity anymore. So I think it's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, this next question fits in for you guys really well because you two are actually some of the best listeners I've ever met because you listen to me on this post show. But in today's fast-paced world, how can we cultivate the skill of listening? How can we better listen to people?
So a lot of things that I do when I think I'm listening is when I'm talking to somebody, I'll start thinking about how I want to respond to them. And then I realize I might
doing
have
that.
heard or
Yeah.
missed some of the things that they were explaining to me. So so then I start thinking to stop thinking. So it's like a vicious cycle. But I just try to like quiet my mind and really, intentionally hear out what the person's saying to me. Because my mind is just constantly like, doo, 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 doo. It's just going all the time. So that's the first thing that comes to mind is like really thinking about what is listening. And like, I think that can look differently for everybody. Like for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, and really listening.
For sure. Absolutely.
I think it's funny you say that because I personally feel like I haven't always been good at listening. I love to talk, and like years ago when I was in high school, I started recognizing like, wow, I talk a lot about myself, and I don't give that kind of, like, I don't let other people do that. I don't do that for other people the way that they listen to my rambling, because I just ramble. And what helped me shift that is anytime somebody would genuinely listen to me and just hear my heart or whatever was going on, I felt so cared for and so loved and just so heard.
Yeah.
And being heard and known was really important for me in my like later years of growing as a kid, and it is for everybody.
Yeah.
And I just reminded myself, like, I want the feeling that I had by people listening to me, genuinely listening to me, is the coolest feeling, and I want to do that for other people, and I want people to feel cared for.
Yeah.
So that, when I started being a better listener, that was something that was always on repeat in the back of my head, is like, you want people to feel heard and cared for.
I love that.
And that's why I ask a lot of questions and I give a lot of compliments too, because the feeling that I feel receiving those, I want to give to other people.
Yeah.
Well, you are very good
Very good.
at listening and giving compliments.
Yes.
You are very good at it.
Thanks, guys.
I love
So,
my Lexy compliments.
Mine is very similar to yours. Like, I remember just like the old youth leaders and other people in my life that just made me feel heard, and I definitely want to reflect that to everybody else that I talk to. But one of the things that I tell myself, especially with you students, is remember the small things. Like, oh, I got a new puppy. Next time I see them, I'm gonna ask them about that dog.
Yeah.
Like, just remembering those small things. So it was like, wait, you listened to me and you remembered what I said to ask me later on. So I'm not perfect at it, but I'm definitely getting better with just remembering those small things and being able to apply them. So I think that's a huge, to piggyback, to add another step to what you
Honestly,
already shared.
those small things like will go such a long way.
Yeah.
Especially because just the world that we live in, we're so self-driven, and we, as sucky as this is to admit, like, all of us are very selfish, and we think about us before other people most of the time. And where was I going with this?
Maybe like with the
I guess
actions.
long story short, we don't always remember all those small things, and
Yeah.
it's gone, you guys.
Okay.
What I was thinking of is completely gone.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that is like really key though, because as you guys were talking though, I mean, it makes so much sense. It's not just listening; it's the actions you take after you listened.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's like it's like a two-part thing.
I remember what I was going to say. As just because we think about ourselves, we don't expect people to remember all these little things. It's like, oh, they don't care, they won't remember. And when somebody does remember that little thing, it's like, wow, they were actually listening to me. They actually care about what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I feel like that can position that person to then carry out like a domino effect to do the same thing for somebody else.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
It's like planting a small seed with your actions. And then, that's going to make that person feel amazing. And then they're going to want to go do it right. That's what both of you said. And I absolutely agree. I remember tons of times where people made me feel heard. And then they're going to go turn around and do the same thing too.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely cultivating a great skill of listening.
Yeah. For sure. Big time. Well, I do want to leave everybody online before we go. Whenever you watch this, maybe you're watching this live right now, maybe you're watching this later on down the week or a couple months from now. But one of your challenges to go over the course of the next 7 days from whenever you're watching this is to identify one person that you can bless this week, one person that you can serve, one person that you can love, and one person that you can care for this week. That is your challenge. We here at Connections, we're praying for you. You got this. God's with you. We love you very much. We hope to see you at one of our services next week, 8:20, 9:40, 11 o'clock. We also have our Q&A resuming this Wednesday at 7 p.m. We would love for you to tune in. Layla, Lexy, Austin, thank you so much for joining us and just having some conversations. Everybody watching online, you're amazing. Jesus loves you. We love you. Have a great week.
Bye, guys.